Today I'm making pretzel bites, and here are the ingredients that we need. 4½ cups of flour, that's all-purpose flour, 1½ cups of lukewarm water, 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, 1 tablespoon of yeast, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1/4 cup of... So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. Our first step is to grab our water. I'm going to get my water into the bowl here, and I've got my yeast. Just going to sprinkle that in. I'm also going to give the yeast some food, some nice sugar. Mix that around. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a little bit of the flour. I'll just add a little bit in. Now I usually get this going on the KitchenAid mixer right away, but just for the video I'll just do a little bit by hand and then I'll finish it off in the mixer. So I'm just going to get this all mixed up. And then I'll get in our oil, get all of that in. And our salt. There we go. Now at this point right now, what you could do is you could actually just let this sit here for about 10 minutes and let the yeast really start to work. Or you can start mixing it with your mixer or your blender or whatever you have right away. It doesn't really matter. Alright, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this set up on my KitchenAid mixer and I'll be back in a second. Alright, I've set up my bowl on my KitchenAid mixer. I've got my dough hook in place now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start loading in some of this flour. And I'll get the mixer going. So I'll just let this go and I'll be back in a minute. Alright, that's fully incorporated now, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the rest of our flour in there. So my mixer's been going for about another minute, and you can see the dough is really coming together. So we'll just let this go for a little while longer and I'll be back again. Alrighty, so I've let the dough go for about another 3-4 minutes. I didn't actually time it, but around there. And so this dough is really nicely mixed and worked. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove it from the KitchenAid mixer here. And at this point, you can see a beautiful dough in there. I'll just get it off of there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove it and see how nice it came out. So I'm going to take some Pam cooking spray. I'm just going to spray the bottom. I'm going to pop the dough back in and I'm going to spray just a little bit on the top. And I'm going to take a sheet, little cloth rather. I'm going to cover that up. I'm going to let that rise for about an hour and I'll be back and then we're going to make some pretzels. Little pretzel bites. Well, it's about 50 minutes later and I want to show you how well our dough is doing. Here you can see it's risen up really nicely. So at this point right now, I'm just going to take my hand and punch it down. And there we go. So this is ready to use. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get it out. I'm going to set up my table and I'll be back in a second. Alrighty, so here's our pretzel dough. I'm going to put a little bit of flour down here. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to start cutting the dough into more manageable pieces. Just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're simply going to take the dough and we're just going to start making little ropes. So I'm going to get this dough nicely rolled out. There are no rules. You can do it any which way you want. You're probably wondering, what are we going to be doing with that baking soda? Well, we're going to be boiling up some water, and we're going to add the baking soda to the water. And we're going to be dipping our little pretzel bites into the water for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then we're going to be putting them on a baking sheet and we're going to be baking them. So there we go, that's nice like that. Alright, get my pot on here. I'm going to get 2 cups of water in here. I'm going to get this going, I'm going to turn it on. So there's 2. And that's our final 2, so there's 4 cups of water in there. And then we have our 1/4 cup of baking soda. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get that in there. And this step is a must when you are making pretzels. If you don't do this step, you will be making bread, you won't be making pretzels. So this is an absolute must. I'm going to take a little bit of flour and just put it on a tray here, just so that the pretzel bites don't stick. Alright, that's good enough. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a little cutter and I'm just going to cut them into little bite-sized pieces. Alrighty, and a few minutes later I've done half of the recipe, so I do still have 2 of my little dough balls still here ready to go. But for the purposes of this video, I don't need to do them all. We've got quite a few here, so you'll see a good sample of what the final product is going to look like. So those are the pretzel bites, and I'm going to gently slide my water over here. And it's not at a full boil yet, so I'm going to let that go, and I'll be back in a second when it's fully boiling. You also want to preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to drop them in there. A few more. There we go. And I'll just set the timer for about a minute, and we'll just let these go. Remember to have your oven 450 degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll just let these go. So that's a minute. I'm just going to move them off there a little bit so you can see here. So I'm just going to grab them, and I've sprayed my baking tray with Pam. Just want a little bit of oil on there. So I'm just going to get all of these down now onto the baking tray. And what I'll do is, I just want to make sure that this is coming up to a boil again before I add some more. I'm just getting some sea salt here. I've got them all on here. I just spread them out to make sure they're not touching. I want them all to get nicely browned. I've put the sea salt on, and now I'm going to pop them into the oven 450 degrees for about 15 minutes. So I'll be back with the final product in a bit. Alright, here are the finished pretzel bites. I left these in. I had my oven on convection, and these were in for actually 12 minutes, and you can see how nice and brown they are. I might do another batch, and I'll just show you. I'll do maybe 2 minutes less just to show you the difference in the color. But these taste just like pretzels that you would buy at a stadium or in a mall or whatnot. They are really good.
So that's it for this really fast video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you wish. And if you're on Facebook, you can always check me out at facebook.com/BakeLikeAPro. So that's it, and I'll see you next time. And please subscribe to my BakeLikeAPro YouTube channel, and also click that notification bell to be alerted every time I upload a brand new video.